Windels. Ron's dad moved the family from New York Mills, Minnesota, to a family near Topeka, Minnesota, the family farm, when Ron completed ninth grade. He graduated from Topeka High School and started working in Minneapolis for the summer and attended St. Cloud University, St. Cloud, for a couple of quarters. But not liking college life, Ron returned to Minneapolis to work and play. He met Carol in the fall of 1967 while she was attending school at Methodist Hospital in St. Louis Park. They were married in March of 1968. They celebrated their 50th wedding anniversary yesterday. 2 weeks after their wedding, Ron was drafted into the U.S. Army. He attended basic in Fort Lewis, Washington, and his advanced infantry training was followed immediately at the same post, completing the training in July of 1968. Ron was assigned to Company A, 3rd Infantry, 9th Division in the Mekong Delta of South Vietnam. He became a rice paddy daddy. His oldest daughter was born a few weeks after his arrival in Vietnam, but the Red Cross notification did not catch up with him until about 2 weeks later. Infantry in a hostile area is not necessarily where a 20-year-old wants to be. He does feel lucky and thankful to be here today. Ron says he could have just as easily died those 50 years ago like several others from his outfit who are forever young in his memory. One good memory Ron has is from December 27, 1968. Several of us ground pounders were choppered into 9th Division Base Camp to see the Bob Hope show. Carol said she happened to see that show on TV, and there was Ron sitting in the front row. The infantry boys got to sit up front. The bad part was they went back out to the bush on ambush that night, wondering if they'd really ever been there. On January 4th, 1969, Ron was wounded in a firefight after a long day engagement with the Viet Cong force. He received a gunshot wound to his right upper arm, shattering the bone and sustaining nerve damage. Once the dust-off helicopter got him and other wounded out of the fighting zone, Ron knew he was going back to the world. He was sent to Fitzsimmons Army Hospital in Denver, Colorado for healing and therapy for 8 months. He thought he might get a medical discharge from the Army, but no. Back to duty in October at Fort Carson, Colorado. He received the Purple Heart, the Bronze Star, and the Army Commendation Medal of Heroism in Action. Because of his injuries, Ron's duties were limited, but he completed his second year of military service and was discharged in March 18, 1970. He was discharged as a Specialist 4. He was put up for Specialist 5, but was wounded before he was able to be promoted. Ron returned home to family in Minnesota and started farming near Topeka, New York Mills. He also worked at the Mills Farmers Elevator and became manager in 1977. In 1980, Ron had the opportunity to work at the New York Mills Post Office and still be able to farm. He worked at the post office until 1993 when he became postmaster at the Bluffton, Minnesota Post Office. He retired from there in 2008. He continues to farm a little. Ron and Carol have 3 daughters and 1 son, and they are here today. They have been winter residents at the resort since 2012. Ron enjoys his hobby of collecting and restoring classic cars and singing karaoke. Ron says when he looks back at the last 50 years, he realizes how fortunate he has been and truly feels blessed. If you wish to check out Ron's full story, Vietnam story, he is on YouTube under Ron Windels, Prairie Public Television. I viewed it. It's a good interview. There are 2 interviews. One is 3 minutes and the other is 30 minutes. Carol is a member of the Daughters of the American Legion, or the American Revolution. One of her daughters was also a member. The Resort Quilt Club presents this quilt of valor made by Ron's cousin, Judy Dykoff, to Ron Windels to express our thanks and support for our freedom. Ron?